Well, boys, today is tomorrow, and the second exposed MrBeast video finally came out, and it was something. And to be honest, in my opinion, I think Dogpack should have picked anyone else. I mean, literally anyone else that was coherent to like share their story on MrBeast, because this Jake guy is just straight up insane, hard to follow, and he tries to do his whole comedy routine within this video. I don't know if he thinks that's his personality. That's not your personality, Jake. This man is always on. And when I mean on, I mean like just every other sentence is a laugh, because he will literally probably read off a Wendy's order. He'll be like, yeah, I want a Baconator and fries. And you know what? I'll even have a Pepsi with it. Like, the man is so unfunny, but for some reason he wants a comedy career. But yeah, Dogpack decides to bring on Jake to tell his story about working at MrBeast. And I'm gonna summarize it for you boys, alright? We don't need a 50-minute video on this. So Jake was working at, MrBeast as a writer slash a person that, was actually in the videos a couple times. And everything was going good. He wasn't getting paid as much as, working on regular TV shows, because, YouTubers are cheap. I'll just tell you that right now. These YouTubers make a lot of money and they're just cheap, alright? As an editor, don't become a YouTube editor, boys. There are editors out there that make tens of thousands of dollars a month, alright? They got lucky that they actually found a YouTuber that, realizes that, hey, the only way for me to actually get good content out is to pay my editors a living wage. But 90% of YouTube is basically a Chinese sweatshop. They will make millions of dollars a year and then struggle to pay their one and only editor anything near a living wage, because you see, taxes, I mostly am the one doing all the work. I spoke into the mic for like 10 minutes and my back is broken after those 10 minutes, even though you gotta spend hours on this video. So, I sympathize with Jake Weber on that, right? He wasn't really getting paid much, and then he heard that one of his friends wasn't getting paid anywhere near what he was getting paid for the exact same job. So, as a friend, he wanted to stand up for his friend, and he was like, hey bro, let's go ask them for a pay raise for you. But the friend didn't want to ask for the pay raise because he didn't want to rock the boat, because obviously the guy had kids and stuff, and the money he was getting was better than no money at all. But Jake pressured him into, come on, bro, let's go ask for a raise. I'll be there with you. And you know what? I'll even put my own job on the line. But Jake didn't care about the job anymore. Jake kind of wanted an out already. So Jake, and his friend went in there. They were like, you know what? We're going to leave if we don't get a pay raise, or if at least you don't, raise his pay to the same that I get. And essentially, they got fired that same day and received severance checks. And Jake was crying over this because he got his friend fired from, MrBeast. And the guy actually, needed the money. So after Jake and his friend got fired, Jake decided to move to, continue on with his failing comedy career. I'm gonna be honest, this is some of the worst comedy ever. He, in his own video, showed a clip of his comedy for a charity event. It was absolutely trash. Oh my goodness, it was bad. But yeah, the guy moved to New York for his comedy career, and then he got a call from MrBeast because he didn't really stir the pot, and MrBeast was like, hey, I got this challenge I want you to do for $300,000. You have to stay in a room for 100 days by yourself. So Jake Weber decides to go back to North Carolina to, do this challenge. He'll have everything he'll need. He had an ice cream machine, but the ice cream machine was a nightmare because the sound was always on. And then whenever he turned it off, it started to smell like, rotting milk, because, the ice cream machine is no longer keeping the dairy product frozen. And then he also had a hot tub in there, but all that also became a nightmare because that also started to smell because there was no filtration system. But the worst part of all of this was that they never turned off the lights, right? He could not sleep. He didn't have a clock or anything. There was no window, and he wasn't able to get any sunlight to see, is it nighttime yet? Should I go to sleep? Am I supposed to be awake at this time? Now, Jake only had to stay in the room for actually 30 days, and they would have, made up the rest of the 100 days because, the whole challenge is fake. You know, ooh, MrBeast does fake videos. But Jake, after a little while, wasn't able to stay in the room because obviously he wasn't able to sleep because they weren't turning off the lights. On top of that, the foul smell of the ice cream machine and the hot tub, you know, was becoming overwhelming. So obviously he wanted out of it. Plus his mental health was declining because, you know, if you don't sleep for over 7 days, after a while you become insane. So after a few days, they decided to end the challenge and they still paid Jake Weber $100,000. A really good chunk of change, alright? They paid this man over $100,000. And, you know, MrBeast, I guess he said they didn't want, you know, Jake to sue, but, you know, he didn't say sue all the way. But obviously in Jake's head, he's like, wow, you don't want me to sue after what you did to me? But I mean, like, $100,000. I feel like what else were you gonna get from a lawsuit? Because you weren't gonna get $1 million. Like, let's all be honest here. MrBeast has lawyers. You probably would get nothing from that. So Jake went on to talk about how he also, you know, had to pay over $40,000 in taxes because of the $100,000 that he received from MrBeast. Which I'm just saying, like, brother, you made $60K in a year from like a few days. Like, don't get me wrong, being forced to stay awake for, you know, more than 2 days is completely insane. Against the Geneva Convention, everything, right? I understand, I sympathize with that. But also, my guy, like, let's all be honest here, 60K. That's still a pretty decent amount of money. And this man was trying to blame MrBeast. Like, MrBeast had, like, the perfect tax code to make sure he was able to keep all $100,000. It's like, no, MrBeast just handed you $100,000. Unless you thought you was going to get, like, some, what, Tesla stock? What did you want, some stock options? Instead of, you know, hardcore cash? You should have said that. I don't understand people that complain that they get a ton of money from MrBeast and then they don't know what to do with it. Instead of them going to a financial advisor and paying them like what, a couple $1,000 so they could, you know, turn their $100,000 into like what, maybe $150,000, who knows, or into a lifetime investment. Instead of them doing that, they decided to blow their money and then complain that MrBeast didn't help them. Like, my guy, you can't be this stupid and then complain that, oh my god, the person that gave me a life-changing amount of money didn't help me. You could have did some research. You were the one that won the money. Like, a quick Google search would be like, these are the CPAs in your area. If you want a financial advisor that will help you with your finances right now, call these people. It is literally one Google search away. But now moving on to the actual damning evidence that Jake Weber was talking about. They had a person in their videos called Delaware. Now, his name wasn't Delaware. Jake alluded that this person wasn't allowed to go back to Delaware because he did some things with a minor. When we say minor, we're not talking about just, oh, barely illegal. We're talking about actually illegal. So there's this person that appeared in MrBeast videos with a mask on that was nicknamed Delaware. And Delaware was a RSO, a registered, put the word there, offender. So now we get into the part of the video that, you know, everyone actually wants to hear. The actual juicy part, not this guy complaining that he got his friend fired. And then on top of that, he wasted $100,000. MrBeast hired Delaware knowing fully well what this guy did. And the reason why we know that MrBeast knows what this guy did, because not only is there a clip out there of MrBeast calling the masked man Delaware, but also Delaware's stepbrother, Jake the Viking. The same guy that was talking about Chris Tyson and how you can't have people like Chris Tyson around MrBeast. MrBeast knew all along what Chris Tyson was doing, is coming out to defend his stepbrother. You know, the registered word offender that did something with an 11-year-old. I'm just saying here. It's kind of the pot calling the kettle black. So Jake the Viking decided to put out a tweet about this, you know, after tweeting out for so long, trying to gain followers and clout out the MrBeast drama. You know, he now has to defend his stepbrother. Even though, you know, he didn't want to defend Chris Tyson because, you know, he didn't know Chris Tyson. But, you know, he knows his stepbrother. And his stepbrother is not a bad guy anymore. He was a bad guy, but, you know, he's now a good guy. But Chris Tyson, always a bad person. But this is what Jake the Viking has to say. Here's the truth. Yes, Delaware is my brother-in-law. Yes, he is a RSO. When he was 21, a 16-year-old girl accused him and others of SA when she was 11. Delaware took a plea deal, that's why there was no jail time, but he still had to register. His nickname isn't Delaware because he can't go back to Delaware. He's from Delaware. That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard. He's been back several times. He was hired before I was, and was actually the reason I got hired at MrBeast before being hired. Delaware sat down with Jimmy and Sue, Jimmy's mom, and explained to them everything. So yes, Jimmy knew, but again, his incident happened in 2010. Delaware was hired in 2017/2018. Delaware was also let go from the company before I was. Delaware was supposed to be a behind the scenes manager, but in a couple of videos he was asked to partake because we needed people. He was reluctant, especially in a straight jacket video because of his charges. And that's why he wore the mask. Delaware's charges are set to be dropped this fall. Delaware has been nothing but a good person and an amazing husband to my sister, and the best father to my 2 nieces that I could ever ask for. They want no part in this and just want to live their lives away from the limelight. Understand why anyone would be upset and frustrated over these allegations, and I do not blame them. Hurting kids in any way is completely unacceptable, but in the case of Delaware, I firmly believe he did nothing wrong and look forward to the day these charges are dropped. Thank you. See, I also believe in rehabilitation, especially if you served your time, you did everything you were supposed to do to make sure you're on the right track in life again. But it's so weird how the internet just, starts to make everyone believe no one can be rehabilitated. As soon as you do a crime, you're that crime forever, right? But, this man has an actual person in his life showing that just because you did something heinous, you can always come back from it. But he doesn't give that same charity to someone as soon as he realizes he can get clout and fame off of it. And of course, everyone has been going in on Jake the Viking for, calling out Ava Tyson rightfully for being a predator, but then when it comes down to his own family member, now he defends them because, they're a good person. So it's kind of weird how he believes in rehabilitation for his family members, but he doesn't believe in rehabilitation for anyone else. And also, I like how he snitched on himself, showing that, yeah, Jimmy knows that there's a whole bunch of predators at, the MrBeast warehouse factory company thing. Even my own stepbrother was one. But I would like to see what Jimmy has to say about this allegation and all these new allegations coming out, because let's all be honest here, it's not looking too good, because right now Jimmy's a 2 for 2 on the predator list. All right, no one has came out to defend himself against the allegations yet with any substantial explanations for their actions. Unlike Mr. T Lexfire, who 100% proved himself innocent in his new video. Click this video right here, boys, to find out what happened to Mr. T Lexfire and how did he exonerate himself. But boys, other than that, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below, and I'll see you all tomorrow.